Greetings, everybody. I am the Starving Martian, and how many times have I told you over the past few months, keep watching the skies? You wouldn't listen. Now look what you got. Hello, everyone. This is Dinosaurs Attack, issue number 2 by IDW Comics. Last week we took a look at issue number 1, which was actually printed by a company called Eclipse Comics way back in 1991. The idea was to make a 3-part miniseries, but only the first issue sold. They never got around to putting out issues 2 or 3. Now, that comic was immensely long. It had a whopping 39 pages, not counting bonus art and material in the back. So when they eventually continued the series, flashing forward to 2013, they reprinted the first issue, but only about 3/4 of that issue made it into IDW's issue number 1. So when you get to issue number 2, the first half of the book is like the second half of issue number 1 from the original. But no need to worry if you collected the IDW reprints. You're not missing out on any story material. In fact, even the extra stuff gets reprinted throughout the series. So you can easily buy the IDW version. You don't have to worry about getting the original Eclipse. But anywho, let's move on to the story. If you remember, last time around we met Dr. Elias Thorne, and he was in charge of the Time Scan project on a spaceship called the Prometheus. It was supposed to scan the Earth and open up a window that we could look back and see times past, whether the age of the dinosaurs, what happened. Specifically, they want to find out how the dinosaurs became extinct. Unfortunately, some evil entity has overtaken the project, and now dinosaurs are starting to materialize on the Earth, causing great havoc. When we left off, a Brontosaurus had appeared at the Bay Bridge in Brooklyn and was starting to cause some havoc there. And Dr. Elias Thorne had slumped over in the space station with an apparent heart attack. So, we're going to pick up there. Here's the full cover of issue number 2. Very nice cover, very nicely done. Although I do have to say, this guy here is the stretchiest spinal column I have ever seen outside of Inspector Gadget. Alright, so let's dive into it, shall we? First off, we get this nice shot of the Dinosaurs Attack logo, as usual. And here we go. So this would have been the next page in issue number 1, where we stopped. So you see this angry Bronto causing a bit of mischief. Cars veering off the bridge, as one does when one is attacked by dinosaurs. Smashing onto a conveniently placed boat. This guy here never took swimming lessons. And so the NYPD begins a helicopter raid against the Brontosaurus. And I absolutely adore this particular shot. Very nicely done. Unfortunately, these police officers have little to no experience fighting giant lizards on bridges, as they seem to think flying directly at it is a good idea. It's not. It really, really is not. The dinosaur does not like the taste of helicopters. The good old patooey, out it goes. And he takes his frustration out on the rest of the bridge. Meanwhile, in Denver, Colorado, which I always remembered when I was a kid, there's a TV series called Denver the Dinosaur. I can't imagine there's a connection here, but there might be. So we see this cop writing out a ticket for this lady when in materializes a dinosaur, big hunkin' Tyrannosaurus type. Although obviously not a Tyrannosaurus, the arms are all wrong. But the policeman fires at him, has no effect whatsoever. And, you know, I can completely buy that. After all, crocodiles, alligators, they have thick hides. And I imagine a lizard this much bigger would be that much more difficult to defeat. Cop goes down in one easy Crunch. I don't know what she's so upset about. She doesn't have to pay the ticket now. And Slurp. But apparently that does not satiate our dinosaur friend's hunger as he next attacks a school building, bursting through the walls and devouring the children within. And you know, I have to give IDW credit for following through. This is on one of the trading cards. And I had said during my trading card review that I doubted if it was being done today, if they would have the guts, no pun intended, to actually do an attack on a school building, and yet they kept it in the story. So kudos to them. I like this one kid in the background, just the dinosaur stabbing him with his fingernail. Can't figure out why. Just like he just wants to up his bounty count for no particular reason. Now we're switching to a different art style, and the comics from this point on will do this, where you'll have like this more traditional trading card kind of painting style, and then switch to a more comic booky style. And I imagine that was to save time and money and whatever. And honestly, for the most part, I don't mind. This is a good comic book style. It works well with the material. It's just jarring sometimes going from one drawing style to the next, but they both work fine. I have no real complaints. So we end up at Washington, D.C., where the vice president is assuring the press that we have nothing to worry about. These dinosaur sightings are unsubstantiated, and nobody should panic until we have some proof that something's actually going on here. And as if they can hear him, in come our friends the pterodactyls, saying, you want proof? We'll give you proof. Now this panel here, this is where issue 1 of the original Eclipse comics, this would be the end of that. So everything from this point on is new material, and yet it blends so seamlessly you wouldn't even know. So the pterodactyls attack the press conference. You know, these Secret Service agents who have these machine guns stashed I don't know where, but they don't do much good. This one guy gets scooped up and slammed so hard his skull comes out of his face. I don't know if that's possible or not. I don't know that pterodactyls would do that to their prey, but it looks impressive and leaves a rather nasty smear. Another great shot of the pterodactyl bursting through a window. One guy tries to run away, but it materializes a prehistoric and apparently deadly tree? Okay. Whatever. Oh, and by the way, he says, the skies! Keep watching the skies! Like, hey, you stole my line. So pterodactyls are huddling around Lincoln here, enjoying their meal, when in bust these flamethrower types. And yeah, that'll get some bats out of your belfry. So it goes soaring away, looking like Fire Rodan, if you know who that was. And we cut back to the Prometheus, where we catch up with Helen, Dr. Thorne's ex-wife, and Ambrose, his doctor and friend and psychiatrist. Apparently, Dr. Elias Thorne's condition is stabilized, which is good, but now they have to take care of the Prometheus, and so they tell everyone what's going on. They're gonna try to stabilize things from here, but if they can't, they might have to destroy the Prometheus while they're still on board in order to stop the time scan and save the Earth. So they give everybody an option. Go down to the Earth, where all the giant killer dinosaurs are eating people, or stay on the Prometheus, where you might have to get blown up. So, yeah, great options there. Dr. Thorne's recovering, and wants to take charge of the situation, as he would. And everybody on board makes their choices, who's staying, who's going. Meet up with our reporter friend again, and he's decided to return back to Earth, where the main part of the story is. Plus, I guess if he blows up here, you know, he can't file any of his stories. And Ambrose decides he's staying behind. We get this interesting bit down here where he says, "Face facts, Ambrose Woolley. You may be particularly responsible for that horror that's engulfing us. There isn't much time left. You must be absolutely certain about Elias before you act." And just a look on his face, I began to wonder what's going on with this character. I began to wonder if maybe he might be somebody in disguise. Perhaps the evil dinosaur demon entity, or even the Saurian from the trading cards. I don't know if that was intentional on their part, but it did make me wonder, and so kudos to them. Meanwhile, on Earth, we have more dinosaurs materializing and doing what they do. And I have to say, I love the artwork on here. That's why I don't mind the comic book style they toss at us sometimes, because when it gets down to the dinosaurs, 9 times out of 10, they're giving us this beautiful painted artwork. It's very similar to the trading cards, except much bigger. And so you get a lot more detail. And we're actually treated to larger versions of pictures from the card series. Here's the Triceratops, the wedding, along with the blood-stained wedding invitation, both directly from the cards. Stegosaurus knocking this guy's face half off directly from the cards. They even got the back of the cards going here, where they had the back of the cards would usually be like a newspaper report. And so we here have an Italian newspaper reporting on the fall of the Leaning Tower. Very, very nicely done. Huge full page spread of this. Well, he's not a Stegosaurus, but Stegosaurus-esque dinosaur with these guys impaled on his back. And I know, I've said it before, I know they're jumping from the flaming building, but really, there's got to be a better place to jump, people. I like that guy in the tower, not the tower, the Big Ben. Here we have Crazy Cat Lady taking her revenge. Stop eating my keys! And then a dinosaur trampling through the museum as our last shot in this issue. With those guys here saying, "I knew it! No feathers!" Which might be my favorite line in the entire issue. Because whether you believe the current scientific theory about various dinosaur species having feathers or not, it looks absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, so that concludes issue number 2. Not a whole lot for moving the story along, not a whole lot of plot going on, but you know, we do have some bits going on in the Prometheus. We see they might have to destroy, you know, themselves in order to save the world, which is always a noble thing. But we get plenty of dinosaur rampaging, which, let's face it, that's what we paid our money to see. As with the other issue, I spent about $4.25 on this issue, which is about average going price. I found it at my local comic book shop, and I encourage you to try to find these at a comic book store before you go online. But if you do shop online, they're about the same price. See if you can group them together to save on shipping. But anywho, this has been The Starving Martian. Next time, we will take a look at issue number 3. See what else these dinosaurs are going to attack, and what happens on board the Prometheus as they do. But until then, well, what can I tell you guys? Keep watching the skies.